Hi, I'm Ray and this is TinyTableGames. Thanks for clicking on the video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and join with me on my journey to play through all the games on my game shelf that I've never played and paint all the miniatures that are in dire need of painting. Today we are playing TinyEpicmechs, a Gamelin game, which was Kickstarter, and it's part of their Tiny Epic fill in the blank here game of games, line of games, there you go. With a really small box that barely seems to fit all the stuff in it, and when you spread it all out, it's pretty big. It's for 1 to 4 players. You can play one player by playing bots, which is what I'm going to do today, with a slightly modified form, but nonetheless, we'll get there. In any case, let's get into it. So there is a lot going on despite the tiny size of the box. Let's go through each of these parts of this game, quick walkthrough, and get down to how it works. All right, there are a bunch, like 8 or 9, character cards. They are all basically equivalent. On the basic side, they can hold up to 2 weapons, and they all have 6 health before they get knocked out and have to go respawn. They all come with a set of programming cards that roughly match the color, and a little number track here for tracking your energy and credits, as well as game tips as for what you can do and win. Every meeple has a little mech upgrade. When you manage to do your upgrade in this game, since it's an arena combat game, that's what your stats turn into, because hey, you've upgraded. For everywhere, there's a bunch of different ones. We got tank and wasp and diamond. Everybody has the same set of action cards. It is to rack up points on the point track there on the left, over 6 rounds, which is tracked right there on the right. And as you go, you can upgrade your weapons, you can collect credits, more energy to buy your weapons, and pretty much just run around and thump everybody else. Now, with all the colors and all the bits and bobs and pieces, it looks like there's a whole lot going on in this game, but it's not quite as bad as it seems. In summary, there's up to 4 players, and everybody has a meeple. And each meeple comes with 2 little holes in the hands. So, at the start of the game, there are 4 basic weapons. Everybody gets to pick one of the 4 basic weapons. There's 4 copies of each, so if everybody wanted to show up with a pulse pistol, they could. For this game, I chose to set up with each character has one of the 4 basic weapons, just to get a different flavor out. If you attack, you do the first line of damage. If you counterattack, based on how they attack you, kind of a rock, paper, scissors thing, you get to do the extra damage line instead of the first damage line. At most, as you might guess, 2 holes means you can carry 2 weapons. You use them one after another in combat, kind of like Battletech, fire the first, fire the second. And as you run around, so you can get a sword or a shield and a crossbow, which is kind of low tech considering, or a rocket launcher, or a whatever this thing is, which looks like a telescope, but I'll bet you it's not. And there's some heavy weapons that you have to be geared up into your armor for to carry, and some you can just have on your person as it is. Now, each weapon has a victory point in itself, so at the end of the game you get more points in your score for how many weapons you've managed to acquire throughout the game. And so at some point you can, that is one of the cute things about the game, you drop your meeple in here, and you can close it up, pull that weapon off, and then suddenly they're, you know, Billy Badass running around in their mech armor. Of course, everybody else can do the same thing. That said, there's a few other things. Everybody has a base, basically your respawn point. And at the start of the game, you have 4 mines that can only affect opponents. They can't affect you. So if somebody moves into this space, your mine will trigger, and then it goes away. And you can also, on your turn, drop a turret, which when somebody moves into that space, it will do 1 point of damage to them and then return to your supply. And that's pretty much it from that. You get points by starting combat, and you start combat by moving into somebody else's square. And then you do damage to each other in turns. The person who moved into the square starts the fight. So you get one point for moving into and starting a fight, because it's automatic, you don't have a choice. As soon as you do a point of damage, you get that many more points. So you do 2 points of damage, you get 2 points, and so on. then they get a counterattack and hit you back, and they get points according to how many points they hit you with, and back and forth. If you make the other person retreat because they're out of weapons and nobody's been knocked out yet, the person who did not retreat gets another point. Or if you knock the other person out because they ran out of hit points, you also get a point, and they respawn back over at their starting point. So, what else is there? Well, there's this ridiculous giant mech here in the middle, which should you choose to power up enough and hop into that in the middle, then you have to hop out of this and you jump into that, and then you're extra powerful because there's a whole separate card for when you're using the Sparta 3000 Mighty Mech. The trick is it doesn't come with any weapons, so while you're running around, you're going to need to collect some heavy duty weapons so that when you hop into that thing, apparently they call a timeout while you mount all your weapons, because it is, after all, a sporting event, and there's a picture of stadium and people cheering or watching on their phones or whatever. So you get in, mount up all your weapons, they call time in, and everybody starts going again, and there you are. That if you were to put a mine or a turret on this location of your color, you own that until somebody else gets rid of it or triggers it and makes it go away. Notice everybody on their base has a number of 2 and both an energy and a credits token, so that everybody's always drawing at least 2, because yikes otherwise. And by 2, I don't mean because there's a 2 on there, I mean because there's 2 icons, so you'll get 1 energy and 1 credit. So you get 1 point per each, one of each icon, I should say, on that thing. So you can get 2 up here in the Mega Mech section too. Otherwise, it's 1 each. Okay, anything else? Yes, the number on the hex, or the square, geez, not the hex, also tells you how much it's going to cost to deploy there. Basically, it's more expensive to deploy a turret in the level 3 location, because when the turret hits somebody, it's going to do 3 points of damage. And the little tiles are just shuffled up randomly and flipped over to start, except for the base locations, which always have to be in the, roughly that configuration for 4 players. Okay, that's almost everything, despite this big pile of stuff. And all these are just little gimme things for you to strap on to your meeples, so you can, again, look like little Billy Badass the meeple. All right, so all of your movement cards, which are identical for everybody, you move in the direction of the arrow based on the direction you are facing, which is the direction front is wherever your weapon is mounted. Pretty much, well, yeah, just orthogonal, with the one exception of that one diagonal movement. But notice also it's you do move and then you collect, or you do move and you power up, which means you put on your gear if you have enough energy to do it, which costs you 5 coins, I believe. Or you can jump, which will let you move twice, but you don't take any actions. You can deploy a turret, which will cost however much is in that area. You can buy a weapon, or a heavy weapon, in fact, basic or heavy, it's your choice. They're all available, and so it goes. Oh, and there's also the double jump, in which if you land on an opponent, you get to do your attack, which is no different than moving into the thing and doing the attack, except because you're, death from aboveing, basically, you get to do the second line damage. Why do you have so many of these? Phew, glad you asked. Because each round consists of executing 4 actions. And everybody in a multiplayer actual humans game would look at all 8 of their cards and go, what form am I going to do based on where I'm starting and how I'm going to move around? For this game, I'll be playing tank, the purple guy over here. And you get to pick which direction you're facing at the start. And I'm going to be facing this way. So I'm facing that way. And then you pick 4 cards and you lay them Robo Rally style down in front of you, and you execute them left to right. Everybody executes their left one, then the next one, and the next one, and then the next one. And you do it in turn order with this cute little admit one ticket to the show, indicating who goes first. And then at the end of the round, after everybody's executed all 4, you get all your cards back. You assess scoring if it's one of the rounds where you do that, which is 2, 4, and 6, which is why they're colored differently on the round chart. And at the end of round 6, whoever has the most points wins the game. Phew. Does that seem like a lot of rules for such a small game? Yes, it does. But there's a lot going on, and explaining it is harder than playing it, to be honest. Now, you'll notice there's no dice. If you attack somebody, you automatically hit, you automatically do that much damage. So it goes fairly quick in that regard. There's no surprises. The only surprise is really in programming. So, how do I play when it's just me and 3 bots? Well, they have solo player rules in the game, which basically consist of just shuffle up their cards, top deck it, and make a choice. And so that's pretty much what we're going to do. So I just shuffled up their decks. We're just going to flip it over, and whatever's there, we'll execute it, and we'll make it work to the best of our ability to their advantage, which isn't going to be appreciably different than what I'm going to do. Now, if that seems too easy, they don't recommend playing with 3 bots and 1 person because they think that's too much work, but we're doing it anyway. So, that said, so my 4 cards, just between us, everybody starts with 3 energy and 3 coins. I want to go buy something large like an auto turret, which costs 4, or a sniper rifle, which costs 3. So we need to collect some cash. We already got a mine protecting, and all the mines, there's 4 different values on the mines. So it's not so much what section you're in or what it says on the card as it is what's hidden under there. The values go from 1 to 4. Everybody has the same ones. You place it face down, so nobody but you knows what it is. In this case, I turned them all face down, shuffled them up, and dropped them, so even I don't know what they are. All right. So that said, we're going to move and deploy a mine because it's cheap. And then, so that'll have us there. And then we're going to jump to there just on the off chance that that person's there at that point. And if they're not there, it's a 3 location anyway. So we will deploy a turret. Well, actually, we should collect some cash in there too. So we'll collect there. Let's see, so we gotta move here and then move there. All right, so it's gonna be move forward, jump, bump, bump, move there, deploy a turret, and then last will be move up and collect. So that's the plan. I have no idea what everybody else is going to do, neither do they. So I'm going first. So I move up and deploy a mine. It costs 1. So I spend 1 and poop out a mine. Okay. The next person, and just top decking it for a wasp here. And incidentally, everybody has a person special of power. Scare tactics. When one of your mines or turrets gets destroyed, you may immediately deploy a new one in an empty zone adjacent to you at +1 cost. My ability is tank, tough as steel, take 1 fewer damage from turrets and 2 fewer from mines. So, we will say that she's going this way. And, we drew this one, deploy mine, so I would imagine she's moving forward to do that. And we'll spend all 3 to drop a mine right here. That's going to be bad news for me. Over here, Diamond has self-repair. When you power up and heal, you get your first healing for free. So, Diamond, who's in blue, right down here, is going to go this way and spend 2 to deploy a turret. Okay, and Magma, who has a power shield. For the first damage you take, you may lose 1 energy instead of 1 health. She is going to double jump with no action. Now that seems threatening. And back to me. Deployed the mine. And now jumping. And that's going to, woohoo, cause a fight. So I get 1 point for that, because just starting a fight, it's on TV after all, so you get points for it. Additionally, it causes a automatic battle, and I get to use the second line here. So instead of damaging an enemy, 1 adjacent mine turret may be removed. I'm not doing that, so I'm just doing 2 points of damage. So I get 2 more points. And Gray, who is Jade, loses 2 health, so she's down to 4. And now she gets to reply. And I used an explosive grenade launcher, which seems real fair when you're jumping at somebody. And so she gets to, if you will, counter back. If she has a melee weapon, she gets to use the second line. And guess what? She has a melee weapon. So the rock, paper, scissors effect. So she hits back for 2, and the enemy loses, 1 credit and 1 energy. So I'm down to 1 credit and 2 energy, and I lose 2 health, and she gets 2 points. Okay, neither of us have any more weapons. Because we're both out of weapons and it's now my turn and I don't have any more, I have to retreat to the nearest orthogonal location that's safe, so I will. That's probably stupid, so I'm going to retreat over here instead. And that gives her 1 more point, so we're tied 3-3 because the crowd doesn't care, they just like the action. Now she is up and she has a double jump with no action. And Diamond is going to move up and collect. Let's see, she probably wants to go this way and collect an energy. Yeah, so just she's here, so she gets that, but she also deployed a tower there, so she gets a credit, and she everybody starts with a mine in their home zone, so she actually gets 2 energy and 2 credits. So 2 energy, she's up to 5, and 2 credits. So she's doing great. And now we have Magma, who deploys a turret. So she moves to here, I would say, because that makes more sense. And she spends 2 credits and drops a turret. Lovely. Now back to me. I am also deploying a turret, even though I'm a little off course. And notice I don't have the money to do it now, so I just sit there because I bounced off into a location that I can no longer afford. So, kind of a waste. Wasp moves up and powers up. Okay, over to Diamond, who is also going to power up. And she doesn't need to heal, but she doesn't have enough credits either. Well, so it goes. So kind of a waste for her in that sense. And finally, Magma is going to move up and collect. So Magma gets energy, energy, energy coin. So 3 energy, that puts her at 6 energy and 1 coin. Unfortunately, it takes money to upgrade into your battle mech, which is ironic. Okay, and finally, I'm going to stumble up here and collect. So I get a coin, and a coin, and an energy. So 3 coins. 1, 2, 3, and 1 energy. Not exactly what we were hoping for, but there you have it. So that's the end of the round. So everybody shuffles up their cards, and we start round 2. And now Wasp is the first player. Okay, so starting round 2, I need to deploy more stuff so I can claim more territory. And I'm way up here, so I gotta change my facing. Let's see, what am I doing? I need cash, so I don't have enough yet. So first thing I'm gonna do is collect, even though that's gonna get me energy, but do it in that direction, bump. And then if I move back, let's see, and collect again, like a greedy person, then I can gather enough to then power up when I cut left. So let's see, down, up, cut left, and then, maybe I should purchase first. That would make more sense. Down, up, purchase, there we go. Because if you power up into your armor and you have no heavies, it doesn't do you any good. And then maybe I'll do a jump just in case. That way. All right. So it's a new round. So Wasp is starting off. And she has the jump with no action. So it's a double jump. So she leaps right over the blue player and lands down here. Let's see, meanwhile, oh, double jump from the blue player. Well, that's ironic. And jumps up to here, which incidentally triggers a mine, which does, wow, 4 points of damage. Okay, so that gets returned to Wasp's area. Diamond takes 4 points of damage, so she drops to 2. And Wasp picks up 4 points, so she jumps to 7. Well, that was effective. And now Magma does a corner jump, because that's what everybody's doing now. And it would make sense for her to go this direction with it. And nothing happens as a result. And finally, me, who just doing my little collect action down to here. So I get 1 energy and 2 cash and a second energy. So 2 and 2. So I'll have enough to actually buy something next round. And now it's back to Wasp, who is going to power up cut and right, which would make no sense because why would she want to walk into that? So we'll say instead she's going to power up going this direction, even though she doesn't actually have enough to do that with. So the problem with bots. Over to Diamond, who's going to move forward and purchase, I would say this direction. Let's see, she has 3 cash and 5 energy. So she could get the sniper rifle, which is pretty awesome. Golly, it apparently shoots victory points off your opponent too. The auto turret, it does 3 damage and you deploy a turret for free. Wow, that's even better. The Gauss rifle, which you gain money or energy every time you use it. Jeez. Can she afford that one? Yeah, she can afford that one too. Huh, that's the most economical. And you gain cash every time you shoot. Well, she's gonna do that. Now notice this is an advanced weapon. She can't actually mount it yet. It just goes into her stores off to the side until she powers up into her battle armor. But anyway, there's those 3 left, and now we draw a new weapon to add to the available slots. Okay, that done, we're back to Magma, who is also going to purchase something, which seems wise. And we will have her doing it in a direction that's not troublesome, so she'll go that way with it. And she has 6 energy and 2 coins, so she's going to burn that energy, at least a lot of it, and save her 1 coin. You can get the auto turret. All right, now we're back to me. I have a collect action again, so I'm going to move back to here as planned. Gives me once again 2 and 2. 1, 2. Okay, Wasp. Deploy turret and move to the left. Well, she wouldn't do that, but she would possibly go this direction with it. Except she doesn't have enough energy to do that, I don't think. Well, if she goes here, she does. No, she doesn't. All right. So that's a non-move that doesn't make any sense, but there we are. So she just moves. Next up is Diamond, who will also try to deploy a turret. Going this way, I suppose. She does have the cash for it. So down comes a turret. And Magma deploys a mine. Good grief. So she moves here and spends 1 and drops a random numbered mine. And back to me. I am jumping right over here because I miscalculated that and land smack onto a 1-point mine. So that goes back to Magma. She gets a point finally for doing damage to me, and I take 1 point of damage. So I'm down to 2 health. That's the end of the round. Now we do scoring because it's the end of the second. Okay, well, I'm going to stop it there because you can see how to play it, I can see how to play it, and I have a strict rule about if it ain't fun, stop doing it when it comes to playing games. And this game is not fun. Why is it not fun? Let's compare it to Robo Rally. In Robo Rally, you're also doing programming 5 slots instead of 4 and moving around and trying to get from point A to point B as you race around the factory floor. There's things that move you, and there's external factors that can push you around, and other players can shoot you, but that's not the primary goal. They're just trying to beat you around the flags. People can get bumped. It goes fairly quick. Your ability to interconnect with someone else is not dependent on your movement. You're all trying to get to fixed points, which makes a big difference. In this game, there are no fixed points. You're all just floating around, hoping with random motion to bump into each other. Brownian motion, possibly, but slightly more planned than that, but not when you're playing with bots. So does that really get you anything? No, not really. Because as soon as somebody attacks you, they're either going to kill you or knock you backwards, or you're going to knock them backwards. And then the rest of your slots are meh. So it can take forever. You might not recruit. You might not get a weapon you want. You might not be able to build something you want. In Robo Rally, none of that really comes up, and it doesn't really matter. So what does that mean? That means Robo Rally is a better game than this. This one's definitely not staying on the shelf. There's not much game in this game. There's a lot of parts and a lot of rules, but at the end of the day, you don't really have much control over a lot of things. You set your program up, but your target keeps moving, and you don't know where it's going to move. And that's frankly kind of tiresome. So there you go. This game isn't great. Don't get it if you haven't. And that's about it. I'm Ray. This is TinyTableGames. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.